to do is get this window, this tab for the Google Forms movie, and just drag it out, the one that I'm currently watching. I'm going to drag that out, drag it over to the right-hand side of my screen. I'm going to resize the window by grabbing the whole of the bottom left-hand side of that window until my video is an appropriate size. Then I'm going to move the whole video over here to the right, and I'm going to reposition my classroom window onto the left-hand side here so that I can watch the video and do the project at the same time. Have that video out of the way. I'm back to the classroom window again, and I'm going to open up a new tab. I just click on that new tab and I wait for my Google window to open. And I'm going to click on these widgets right here, and I'm going to go to the drive. So I'll click on the widgets and go to Google Drive. Once inside Google Drive, I'm going to be looking for creating a new file. So I'm going to create new. I'm going to click on new over here. And I'm going to be looking for forms. So I scroll down looking for Google Form. So I create a new Google form. Okay, the first thing I do when I get my form open is I'm going to retitle it. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to double click on Untitled Form, and I'm going to put in my last name, and you're going to put in your last name, and then your first name, and then you're just going to put in forms. So you put in your last name, then your first name, and keep it labeled form, okay? I click outside of that, it becomes the official title. Now check this out. I'm going to attach this to my project. So when I go back over here to the Google Classroom, as you can see, I'm in the forms. I click open, and I don't have any form attached here. When I get my form created, I'm going to retitle it. So I'm going to double click on the title, the untitled form, and I'm going to put in my last name and then my first name. So you put in your last name and then your first name right there in the upper bar so that I know it's you. Now, if I click back over to my Google Classroom, in the assignment here, in the form assignment, you'll see that it doesn't have any files attached. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to attach that file. So I'm going to add, and then I'm going to add something from the Google Drive. So I click on the Google Drive, and the Google Drive window opens, and then I just look for my new form. So if I scroll up here, I could see my untitled form. It just hasn't been retitled yet, but you can see it's changing. It says last name form right there. This is the file that I'm going to attach to the project. So I go ahead and I double click on it, and it's going to add it to my assignment now. So that anytime I open up this project from now on, I'm going to see my project right here, and I can click on it and start my project. Okay, so it's last name, first name, form, as I have titled it over here, as you see. I could also see that it is also in my in the projects here in my Google Drive. I will be able to find it in there as well. So I go ahead and I'm ready to start my forms project here. So go ahead and click on the tab for the form. A line of questioning. I'm going to create a survey with this form and find out what my friends and what Mr. B loves about a certain topic. So I need to pick the topic first. Now, if you have a topic that you could think of, go ahead. If you would like to cheat, you could pick out one of these topic ideas right here. Most common, video games. People like vacations and foods and candy and all sorts of other topics. You've come up with a topic that you want to make your form about, and then we're going to come up with some questions for those topics. Let's write a little description of what our form will have on it. So I'm going to click right here in the form description, and I'm going to say, this form is to find out what foods you like the best? You will obviously form a sentence that will be sculpted to your topic, obviously. Different types of questions that I'm going to use on my form, because some will be multiple choice, some will be drop down, some will be check boxes. I'm going to come up with a list of questions first, okay? So original, good, thoughtful questions to find out what people like. And then I'll decide what type of question it should be. So let's come up with 5 different questions about your topic. I'll ask, what is your favorite seasoning? And I'll just type it right in there, right where the question was. And of course, I want to use a capital letter, and I want to have the quote, the question mark at the end of my question. Next, I'll just create a new question. So I'll come over here, add a question, I'll hit plus, come back over here, and I'll ask the next question. What is your favorite restaurant? And again, you're going to have your set of questions. You go through, create the questions. You ran. Okay, so you're going to create 5 questions. Go ahead, pause the video now, create your 5 questions, and then come back to the video when you are done. Don't worry about what type of question you're asking right now. We'll figure that out when you're finished answering the putting in the questions. Welcome back. I see you finished putting in your questions now. So let's see what the questions I came up with are. What is your favorite seasoning? What is your favorite restaurant? What pizza toppings do you like? How great is the cafeteria food at Nichman? And which type of food is your favorite? Okay, so those are my questions. Now it's time to decide which type of question, what type of question would best fit the question that I'm asking. So you'll see how I do this in just 1 second here. Let's pick out a topic, or let's pick out a question to do this with. Now there are a bunch of different questions that I can choose from, and you'll see what they are over here. Now I have to figure out which one makes the most sense, and I'm telling you right now that I'm going to have to use 5 different types of questions to see how they operate. So one will be a multiple choice, another one will be check boxes, a drop down, a linear scale, and a short answer. Okay, so you have to figure out which ones are the best for the type of question you're asking. So what is your favorite seasoning? Now there are hundreds of different seasoning. So perhaps what I want to do for this one is create a checkbox rather than multiple choice, because maybe the person that's going to answer this question has more than one favorite seasoning. Okay, so let's use checkboxes instead of multiple choice. And also, when I do this, I may want to consider rephrasing the question. Instead of saying, what is your favorite seasoning? I might want to say, what seasonings do you like on your food? Or a specific type of food, or however you want to word your question. But you see, I'm using checkboxes, so maybe I want to reword so that it doesn't pigeonhole me into picking just one thing, but I can also pick multiple things that I do like. So what seasoning? Maybe I could pick out 5 different seasonings that I like for this type of question. So now it's time to come up with some options. Now, of course, seasonings to start off is going to be easy. I could do salt, and then I just hit return. It takes me right down to the next line, and I can type in pepper, and I could type in garlic, and I can type in crushed red pepper. Okay, so as I type, I just hit return, and it takes me to the next option, and all of these are text boxes. Are check boxes that I can choose. I would try to stay away from just too many things. Sometimes people don't like long lists, but I would say, less than 10, probably right around the 6 to 8 mark is a good number for season. And maybe for seasoning, maybe I want to do a little research. So maybe I'll start a new tab and I'll go up to Google and I'll check out for seasonings here, and I'll look down for a good website that has different types of seasonings, and I can check out and try to do a little research on what some other things that people might like are. So maybe, I go to popular here, popular seasonings, and I can type in or just go alphabetically, give me some ideas on different types of seasoning that people like, and then I could put those in as well. So don't be afraid to do a little research to make your survey a little bit better here. And just because there are so many different types of seasonings that you could possibly choose from, as our research has shown, you may want to add other. So sometimes we choose a bunch of them. So for your checkboxes or your multiple choice question, you could do this for either one of those types of questions here, that when you get your checkboxes here, you could say add other, so that the person, if they do like something else, can put in another option on their own. They can type in their own option. I have a decent amount of checkboxes for the person to choose from, so let's now go on to the next question. What is your favorite restaurant? Okay, now if I were to make this a checkbox or a multiple choice question, the chances of me actually figuring out what somebody's restaurant is, I might have to list 50 different restaurants to hit their favorite. So what I'm going to do here, instead of making a checkbox or a multiple choice, what I'm going to do here for this one is I'm going to make it a short answer. This way the person can fill in anything that they like, any place that they like. So I could go up here, I'm going to say short answer. So now the person can just type in the restaurant that they want to choose. So any question that you have that is going to have, a multitude of possibilities, then choose the short answer rather than a checkbox or a multiple choice. I maybe could make it into a checkbox, like maybe what pizza toppings do you like might be a good checkbox. But, I already used it already for what seasonings do I like. So what pizza toppings do I like? Maybe I can make this into a multiple choice. So instead of using, or I already have it set here to multiple choice, so I could just leave it there for multiple choice. And I'm going to do a little research to find out what the most popular pizza toppings are for my people to choose from. So maybe I go on to papajohns.com, maybe I go on to Pizza Hut, maybe I just do a Google search. Go ahead and, you may have to do a little research, like I said earlier, on the questions that you're using, but let's try to use the multiple choice here for this one. So don't get mad if you don't have this exact thing. I did a little research here for the most popular pizza toppings, and I found this article here that actually shows me a list of the pizza toppings. Now, if I highlight the list, if I just highlight the list, you see how it's not picking up the numbers? The numbers are not actually part of the text there. They are bullets, or they're bullets for a list here. So what I can do is I can copy this list, Command C to copy, and it has top 10 pop it. So that's a perfect number for my project here. So I'll go back to my project. I'll say, what toppings do you like? Watch this. I go into option number 1. I highlight it. I hit Command V to paste, and boom, it puts the list in all the way down. So maybe I could say, since it is multiple choice and one answer is going to be selected by the person, maybe I should rephrase the question again. So you see how I have to think about this as I go through. I have to really think about what makes the best question. So I'm going to say, what pizza toppings do you like? Maybe I'll say, what pizza topping do you like best? And now a simple adjustment. Now the person can now select the single most favorite pizza topping. Now, one of your questions right here, mine says, how great is cafeteria food at Nichman? Now, you may have to rewrite one of your questions to fit in the scale. So here's what I want to do with this one. How great is the cafeteria food? I want to have a scale so that the people can rate it from 1 to 10, 1 to 5, whatever the case might be. So I'm going to, instead of multiple choice, I'm going to go down here to linear scale. Now, it automatically gives me 1 through 5, but I could also adjust this to a 1 through 10 rating. However you want to do it is fine by me. 1 through 5, top 4. You know, sometimes they say like 2 thumbs up. They give 10 at a 10-point scale. Some people do like a 4-star rating like you see on Amazon all the time when you're buying something. So it says here at Nichman. And then you could write down what number 1 is supposed to be and what number 10 is supposed to be. So if you scroll down just a little bit, you could say number 1 would be not good at all. And we all know this is not true. So no one would possibly pick number 1, of course. And then you have number 10, greatest food ever. Okay? So you can then tell people, hey, listen, on one end of the scale, and you'll see it enters it in right here on the scale. At one end of the scale, you could say not good at all. 1, it means not good at all. And then number 10 means it is the best food you've ever had, right? So people could do that scale. Like I said, you might have to rewrite your question to fit into a linear scale, because I do want one of your questions to be linear scale. I want 5 different types of questions, so 5 different areas here that I mentioned before in the video. I'm going to look here and it says, what type of food is your favorite? And once again, maybe I have to rephrase this, maybe I can twist it, maybe I have to get rid of the question altogether because it's just not going to fit the type of question that is required by the project. So, what I want to do here is scroll over here and I want to make it a drop-down menu this time. And these will be the options on the drop-down. So I can do a little research here, find out what people like best, and I'm gonna say maybe they like Mexicano food, and I hit return, Italian, and I hit return, and I can say let's say sandwiches. I'll switch gears here a little bit, sandwiches, and maybe I'll say barbecue cookout type of food. Maybe I say burgers for all those burger chains of restaurants out there. Well, just, you know, like I said, it doesn't have to be enormous, but I'll just have just a little list here, and I'll put in for the last option, say seafood. Okay, so now I have different options here, Mexican, Italian. I have a fair enough amount of options. And I might even, instead of say which type of food is your favorite, I might want to switch this up and say, from this list, which type of food is your favorite? This way they understand that they're not saying that this is their all-time favorite as food, but yet, I see my typo there. Don't make mistakes like Mr. B. They might be saying that they understand that this isn't their all-time favorite food, but yet this is the favorite food, the best food from the options given. You understand? We're ready and set up. Now it's time to think about delivering this form to someone else. So if you scroll all the way back up to the top here, you'll see there are some options. Maybe you don't like the purple background. Maybe you want to make it a different color. There are different color options here, as well as a picture option down below right here. So if I scroll down just a little bit, you'll see here I can actually add a banner up at the top that may fit my theme perfectly. So food, well, look at that, food and dining. So maybe I scroll down here and I look for something that fits the type of questions that I'm asking. So I can select whichever I like here, hit select, and you'll see at the top now that it is a theme that has been created that I just chose there. Options here that I can do are going to consist in the settings here. So I can click on settings, and it's going to say check who is responding. And I could say anybody can respond, or just people in the Bethlehem area school district. And I could automatically collect information I could find out who the recipients are by making them sign in. And since everyone in our class and Mr. Brzezinski has been signed in to Google, you can have them automatically collect the district name. And you could also say, hey, you can only submit one time. Okay, so once you submit something, you can't submit 12 different responses, so that you get accurate data, you get accurate statistics, and one person isn't picking the same things 500 times, So that's one of the options there as well. And you could also say the person can submit another response, they can edit their response, and they can also see the summary of responses. If you want the people that you're sending the quiz to see the response answers, you can check this box as well. The progress bar, necessary, not necessary actually. There's not so much going on here. We only have one page, and you could shuffle the question order if you so choose. Sometimes you want it in a certain order because it's asking you questions that are building one on top of another. But if it's just 5 random questions, it really doesn't matter what order they are in, so you could shuffle them as well. Once you've selected your correct, whatever you want, the choices that you want to make for your settings, you can just hit save or cancel if you don't want to change any of the settings at all. Let's check it out here. I'm going to hit send. Now don't put me in the send box. I'll just check it out from the Google Drive, from the classroom. Okay, so I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to start typing in people's email addresses that I'm friends with. So I'm friends with this Kylie Figueroa. So I'll type in Kylie Figueroa and Andrew Bennett. So you just start typing in your friend's name, and you will see options from the Bethlehem Area School District that you could send these emails out to. So I will just continue. Go ahead and give it 4 or 5 of your friends, and you could put them in there. And then you could also send a little private message to them and give that a subject. Take the survey, Mr. B made me do. Ha! And you could also put in a special message to your friends there to get them motivated, pumped up to take your survey. And then once you are finished, you could hit the send button, and those emails will get sent out to your friends, and then they'll have the opportunity to take your very special quiz that you spent so much time on. They'll get it in their email, just like you'll see here, and I could just click on the email, and it will say, hey, this is the form that Mr. B made me do. The form, and actually has the subtitle that I wrote right here, and it takes me to the invite, and I can just click on it, boom, and it will automatically take me to that form so I can fill out the answers. So that's what your friends will see, and then they can take out. So once you're finished with this project, you could check your email and see if any of your friends have sent you the forms, or the surveys, I should say. Classroom, I see that my work is still attached, and this is how you turn it into Mr. Brzezinski. And if you haven't attached your work yet, then you would go to Add, and then go to Google Drive and select your last name, first name form from the Google Drive. It gets imported right here as a link, and then you could turn it in swiftly right here. I've been messing around, so it's going to say resubmit, but that's okay. You could turn it in right here, and then Mr. Brzezinski will also get the form. Now that you turned it in, now you can see what the people's responses were. So if you go back to your project, go back to your survey, and you check out your responses, so you have your questions that you've been writing over here, and then you have your responses over here, you can see now in a summary that you could see who has responded, and then you could see what they responded down here, and you could see percentage-wise how many people chose, etc., etc. And coming down here, all sorts of pie graphs and bar graphs and everything that you will need to interpret your data that you got from your survey. So as you scroll down, you'll see all this stuff is all locked and loaded right there. So as you get more and more responses, they will come in real time, and as this person hits submit, you'll get a new response, and then things will start to change down here as well. Switching over to the individual list right here, you can see what different people chose. So you have Mr. Brzezinski and another person here have chose different things. You could select to see what the answers were from each individual person by going to the individual marker. You can also export this data and create a spreadsheet in the Google Drive. So you can just click on Create Spreadsheet, and you could name it or whatever you need to do, and hit create. And now insert data, just in case you wanted to export this information and share it with others or do something tricky with it. You can go ahead and check out the questions up here and what the different selections were, separated by commas in this case. You could see what everyone and all of the different responses for all of the different questions as you go along here. Different fun stuff here to go along with your surveys. So go ahead and enjoy, and make sure that you did in fact turn it in on the Google Classroom to Mr. Brzezinski so that he can grade it as well. That is all for now. Goodbye and good luck.